Today at Let's Talk Marketplace, we talk about
how TikTok Shop changes the e-commerce landscape and what German businesses can expect from the new platform, which is rumored to start until the end of this year.
Our guest, Chris Dawson, chief editor of the British e-commerce magazine Channel X, tells us about the insights and experiences with TikTok Shop he gathered since 2021, when the platform started in the UK.
Have fun listening.
Let's Talk Marketplace.
The Marketplace podcast with Ingrid Lommer and Valerie Dichtel.
Hello, everyone, my dear Marketplace people. Great that you tuned in again to Let's Talk Marketplace. We're here with a very up-to-date topic again, because we're going to talk about TikTok today. But before we just go right into the topic, I have to say hello to my dear co-host, because I haven't seen her the last week because she was on holiday. Hi, Valerie.
Hi, and welcome.
How are you?
I'm really good. I was in Bella Italia and at Lake Garda and learned catamaran sailing. So I have to admit, I was really offline. So really looking forward to our guest today. And I really enjoyed the time off to get some new energy for our crazy May. So How was your week last week, Ingrid?
Talking about Crazy May, I took a very short trip from Munich to Hamburg for just going up on Monday, going back down on Tuesday, and in between hosting the Retail Media Night there, one of the side events leading up to OMR. I'm going to talk a bit about that later, but that was really, really interesting and really cool for our first start. So, but before we go into that, let's talk about our topic for today, because I think we have a bit of a streak, don't we? Because we had several topics in the last episodes which were really up to date, and this one is another one of those. Because I think I invited our guest for today some 2 months ago, and in between a lot has happened considering TikTok Shop, and I think we should really hurry with our episode before it gets banned and the whole episode is obsolete.
Oh, no, that's a little bit dramatic, Ingrid, right? Don't you think?
A bit.
From what I heard, the ban won't be put into effect for at least a year. And TikTok is already suing against it.
Yeah, that's right, of course. So I was being a bit dramatic. The legislation just passed Congress and was signed into law by Joe Biden, I think 2 weeks ago or something. And that leaves TikTok with more than a year to do something against it. But still, it's a topic we should talk about with TikTok Shop starting in Germany this year and possibly elsewhere in the EU as well. So I'm really thrilled and happy to announce today's guest, because with us is Chris Dawson, chief editor at the British e-commerce online magazine Channel X, formerly known as Tamebay. Hi, Chris. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm great, and thank you for having me on the podcast today.
Yeah, a warm welcome from me as well, Chris. It's nice to meet you. Ingrid has been fangirling quite a lot about you in the last weeks.
Well, a little bit.
and I realized we're not even connected yet on LinkedIn. So what a shame. So
yes,
we'll get that corrected.
Yeah, I think you should, definitely. Well, yes, I have been fangirling, which is not what I normally do, but I've been religiously following Chris' work since I started focusing on my journalistic work on marketplaces. So indeed something of a special moment for me, yes.
So totally understandable, my dear. Somewhat untypically, because you're normally not the type of fangirling. But for those of our listeners who are not so familiar with Chris or Channel X, maybe some introductions are in order. So Chris, 3 questions, 3 short answers from you, please. So,
Certainly.
Who are you?
So I'm Chris Dawson. I founded Channel X in 2006 with a friend after selling on my first marketplace, which was eBay, back in it's over 20 years ago now. I think it was the summer of 2006. Sorry, 2002 I started selling online and been involved with marketplaces ever since.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, wow. And what do you best in marketplace business?
Sorry, say that again?
What do you do best in the marketplace business? So what is your USP in the marketplace business?
So Channel X today is a news site where we bring all of the latest developments, strategies for selling online. And we've expanded beyond marketplaces now because so many channels like TikTok that we're going to talk about today aren't strictly a marketplace, but importantly, Our interest is when the transaction doesn't happen on your own website, but happens on a third-party platform.
Yeah. And why did Ingrid invite you to talk about TikTok today with us?
Well, let's be honest. TikTok Shop launched in the UK. We've got more experience in the UK than anywhere. You mentioned the US. TikTok Shop was launched in the UK more than a year before it even launched in the US. So if you want the experience of TikTok Shop, the UK is the place to look.
Exactly. that was my reasoning, actually.
I didn't know that. Okay. So I'm pretty sure I will learn a lot today, to be very honest. Yeah.
Definitely. So, as you can see, Chris is the perfect match for a nice conversation on insights into TikTok, especially as TikTok Shop has been active in the UK since 2021. So, but before that, let's have a quick look into the latest news last week.
Yes, please.
Newsflash. Okay. Talking about marketplaces, Amazon has launched its 22nd country marketplace. The latest edition is South Africa. And that's the first venture of Amazon into the African continent. Books are already open for bets on the next Amazon marketplace, of course, which would be to open in 2025. I think Multicastan is quite sure it's going to be Ireland, but there are also quite high stakes for Switzerland. Yeah, but anyway, South Africa. Are you looking into the into the country marketplaces of Amazon, Chris? What do you think about Amazon in South Africa?
Well, not only has Amazon just announced the launching in South Africa, which is a tricky one because it's a new continent, they've also announced that they're going to be opening a new country site in Ireland.
Oh, it's already official. Okay, I see.
So
right.
There's lots going on with Amazon. And the great thing about Amazon is normally, if you've already launched in one country site, whether it be in the EU, in Germany and France, maybe, in the UK, in America, Australia, South Africa will be very, very similar. And Amazon make it very, very simple for you to sell normally with fulfillment by Amazon, which doubtless will be present in South Africa as well. So the only real choices or decisions to make are your products suitable for the South African audience? And the answer is almost certainly yes. And do you have the logistics in place to actually ship products to South Africa?
Yeah.
And if the answer to both of those is yes, then you need to jump through all the hurdles and get selling on the channel, because as we've seen in just about every country Amazon's ever launched, they very, very rapidly scale and take market share. So not being there would be a mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's talk about Ireland as well. Is Ireland something that I was a bit astonished about that, actually, because I thought from my German perspective that Ireland is something that you do that from Amazon UK, possibly, if you're there.
Honestly, I was amazed for a different reason. I kind of already assumed that Amazon were present in Ireland.
And it's the biggest marketplace for Ireland, isn't it?
Now, we're a little bit spoiled here in the UK because obviously Northern Ireland is part of the United Kingdom. But since Brexit, they've had that kind of open relationship with Southern Ireland, with an open border between the two parts of the island. And it just makes sense. I mean, if you're selling in the UK, whether you're based in the UK or whether you're based in Europe and you're already selling into the UK, you're already addressing the 5 counties that are Northern Ireland and part of the UK. Why would you not just extend to Ireland itself and start selling on Amazon Ireland? It's no more difficult if you're in Europe if you're in Germany and selling to France, apart from the fact there's a bit of water in between.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Some news for our resident fashion lady. Both Zalando and About You have put out their figures for the first quarter. Zalando has some slight losses, sales losses, around turnover went down some 0.6%. So basically stagnated actually, year over year, of course. So, but they're still trying to remain their forecast for 2024, which is plus in turnover, so 5%. But About You, on the other hand, has been able to increase their turnover lightly. Yeah. Have you had time to look into that already, Valerie? I guess not.
Wait a minute. No.
Doing that now.
I was like, aha, interesting. Well, but Zalando got more, increased their profit. So,
Yes,
yeah, I think I will have a look at both numbers. And also, I think it's time for a comparison, Zalando, About You again. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah. Let's do that. Okay. Anything else that I wanted to put out to before we turn to TikTok? Maybe that one, because that was curious. Kaufland. Some sellers reported that Kaufland has been warning them, sellers who are selling on the marketplace, that their orders aren't late, but that they are too early. So there is obviously a level metric in the seller backend named rate of early shippings, which warns them if they are too early with shipping, which caused some confusion, I guess. But Kaufland has already told people that this is basically a metric that you should take as a personal optimization advice. So if you're able to ship faster, then you just go and shorten your shipping times, which gives you better chances for the buy box. So thanks for clearing that up to Stephanie Pizza, who wrote about that on LinkedIn. But I found it funny, sort of, that it's warning against early shipping. Right. So I guess that's all for my news for today. It wasn't that much on last week. I think everyone, at least in Central Europe, was at OMR, so there were no time for news.
Yeah, and we had a public holiday, right, as well?
Yes, that too in Germany, so not much happening here. But okay. Then more time to talk about TikTok. But before we do that, just a very quick word by our sponsor.
Event season is fully on its way. And do you know which e-commerce event I'm always looking forward to most each year?
Well, as we've established, the fashion lady in this podcast, we both live in Munich. That would be the ECD in Munich, I guess, which takes place on June 12th.
Absolutely. The ECD in Munich is always a great possibility to meet old contacts and make new acquaintances and get new insights directly from your peers. It's a must-have event for all European marketplace people, especially those with fashion, sports, or a lifestyle focus. And it's organized by TradeByte.
I know you're mostly there for the contacts and the coffee, of course, but the ECD has always a great conference program too. So this year, they have a very interesting panel focusing on luxury goods, featuring Olga Burfan from Philip Plein, Francesca Padula from Metys, and Ivan Perra from Moschino. And there's also Mimi Sewalski, CEO of Avocado Store, and Yaw Fram from the Clinton Group. And the fashion retail specialist Donna Darthuizen will be on stage as well. And some other big names in fashion marketplaces, which the event host Alex Otto is still hush-hush about. So lots to look forward to.
Yeah, and on the service provider side, the lineup is also pretty impressive with Theos from Zalando, About You, Kaufland, Blimango, Seven Senders, Fashionette, and Allegro are making an appearance. So if you don't have your ticket yet, you better hurry and have a look at www.ecd-gate.com. We hear tickets are selling out fast, so if you are there, make sure to say hello to me. And speaking of events, Ingrid, how was the Retail Media Night last week? The one where you hosted panel discussions with, 6 big marketplaces? Wow.
Yeah, that was actually pretty cool. Yeah, it was a side event of the OMR, as I said in the beginning, and took place for the first time. So being part of that was quite exciting. And insights-wise, it was also very good because we had Otto, eBay, Zalando, Kaufland, Douglas, and MediaMarkt all on the same stage. And we were really able to compare the different approaches to retail media that these platforms take. And we could see what everyone is working on and just how far ahead Amazon advertising still is. I mean, we're talking light years here. But still, there's lots going on that topic. I learned a lot because I have not been looking that much into retail media, I have to admit. But I think I need to change that. And we're doing that very soon. Looking forward to our retail media episode in 3 weeks or something, I think. Yeah. So Anyway, that was our short events in ad block. But now let's talk more and specifically about TikTok Shop.
Topic of the week.
Okay, Chris, let's start with the political aspects of this first, because you've been following the development of TikTok and TikTok Shop in the UK and also in the USA closely, as we said, since 2021. So for our listeners who are not so deep into the topic yet, could you explain how it came about that TikTok is now threatened with a ban in the US? How did that happen?
Yeah, so this is highly political,
Yes.
and it helps to look at what countries want. And countries really worry about things, not just with TikTok, but even with their domestic produced social media like Facebook, especially at times around election times when they're worried about undue influence. And there's two things they worry about. One is, can a foreign power inject content into social media sites and influence things like the outcome of an election? And two, they worry about who controls the data and where the data is, and how much information about their citizens is being gained by a foreign power. Now, for Facebook, it's only really the first that matters, because Facebook is a US company. So essentially, the data was originally worldwide, all held in the US, although now it's on various servers like in the EU. But TikTok was, or ByteDance, TikTok's owner, was essentially a Chinese company, although very little of it is now owned by, I think 20% is owned by a Chinese person. And a lot of the investors are, in fact, US investors. But TikTok's case hasn't been helped by some ByteDance and TikTok employees who track some journalists via their IP addresses. Now, TikTok immediately sacked all of the employees, but that just added fuel to the fire.
Yeah, of course.
And they worry, can the Chinese government demand data from ByteDance and start tracking Americans? And their solution is that they've passed a bill either requiring TikTok or ByteDance rather to divest the TikTok app. Essentially, they're saying sell the app to an American organization, or they're going to ban it in 9 months' time. Now, personally, I don't believe either of those things will happen. I find it almost incomprehensible that someone would want to buy the TikTok app.
Yeah, without the algorithm
might
behind
sell
it.
the app, but they won't sell the algorithm because they use the algorithm worldwide.
Yeah.
So you're effectively buying a front-end app with no control over the back-end algorithm. An outright ban, well, there's a US election between now and then, so let's see what happens after. Let's see who the next president is, whether it's still President Biden or someone else. Probably Donald Trump if it's not Biden.
Yeah.
In the meantime, TikTok have actually started a case a legal case to block it entirely on the grounds of Americans' Fourth Amendment for free speech. But I think more importantly, it's worth looking at just how many people in the US rely on TikTok as a business and as an income. And some quick stats, 224,000 jobs are supported by use of TikTok. TikTok's small businesses in the US actually generated $5.3 billion in taxes to the US government in 2023. And on top of that, TikTok's US operations themselves, $8.5 billion contribution to GDP, $2 billion in taxes, 59,000 jobs across the US in 2023. It's a big business to just see it shut down. And almost 15 billion in revenue on TikTok in 2023. So this isn't a small decision. It's if you shut TikTok down in the US, you're shutting down a massive part of your own economy.
Yeah.
And now we've seen the impact of this a little, because I don't know if you picked up that Facebook have recently defaulted to vertically orientated videos across their platforms.
Mm-hmm.
They're hoping that if TikTok is shut, that all of the TikTok creators will instantly migrate to Instagram.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily see that happening because these creators weren't making a massive income on Instagram prior to TikTok.
Yeah, for a reason.
The big difference is Instagram doesn't have anything really equivalent to TikTok Shop, where the e-commerce bit actually happens.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Thanks for some of the advice on that. Yeah.
And TikTok is growing immensely fast, both in the UK and the US. So the problem of shutting it down is only going to get bigger when you look at the economic impact.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Right. So this is something where, last word hasn't been spoken there, and it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out in the next 9 months. I would agree with you. I can't see it really shutting down completely. It's yeah. Well, let's see. Anyway, but before we look into the further into the future, just let's look at the present now and how TikTok Shop is holding up in the UK specifically, because you've been dealing with TikTok since 3 years now. So, how important is TikTok for the UK e-commerce since they started out?
TikTok is massively important in the UK. There's almost 1.5 million TikTok businesses in the UK now, and that varies from sort of home businesses, family businesses, side hustles, and also some very promising scale-ups that are growing hugely fast. Mm-hmm. And I can give you some examples of that. So TikTok only launched in 2018 and TikTok Shop 2021. Mm. But we're still coming across people who are waiting to join TikTok Shop because they're only opening up categories slowly. So I know a garden centre that was waiting over a year to be able to sell on TikTok Shop because they didn't have the live plants category open. Mm-hmm. But let me give you some numbers of some of my favourite TikTok businesses, because I think this will kind of demonstrate the growth. And the first is a company called ePhones, a consumer electronics company, mobile telephones. Mm. They launched a new Infinix smartphone in the UK, and in 5.5 months sold 60,000 units. And that's just one of their lines.
Just going over TikTok?
On TikTok Shop.
Okay.
And they sell, price point wise, they sell everything from sort of the £20-30 headphones mark right up to the £1,000 iPads on TikTok. Mm-hmm. Another great company I know, So Sweet, based in Devon and Cornwall, their top TikTok listing on TikTok Shop has had over 124,000 sales. And they had to wait until the food and beverage category opened. And then yet another business, a hair care business, they had to wait again for the hair care category to open. But in less than a year, they saw their 1 millionth sale on TikTok Shop. So from a standing start, never sold on TikTok before, in less than a year, Nature Spell achieved their 1 millionth sale on TikTok. And I don't think there's too many businesses out there, even the large multinationals, that would want to turn down 1 million sales in a year. So that's kind of the growth. And it's just accelerating. Every day we're seeing new businesses launching on TikTok Shop and seeing almost instant success if they get it right.
Mm-hmm. It's really amazing, the kind of growth that's behind that. When they started out in the UK, because you're talking to two German people, yeah? So Germans, businesses are normally a bit more reserved when it comes to new opportunities, new platforms and stuff. So there is a lot of skepticism against TikTok Shop from people that I talk to. So how was the feeling in the UK when TikTok Shop started? Did the e-commerce in the UK welcome that new platform and started out there? Or are these examples that you gave us just some limited, very innovative companies who have been getting onto this train really fast?
I think there's two things to consider here. And the first is that if you're going to sell on TikTok Shop, you've got to understand that it is a totally different selling platform to any other channel you've ever sold on. It's all about the content. TikTok is an entertainment platform. And hopefully we'll come back to that point a little later in the conversation. But the other thing too, which is much more exciting from my point of view, is every company I've spoken to has said that TikTok is additive, not dilutive. So when they start selling on TikTok, it hasn't taken customers away from their other channels. It hasn't impacted their website sales or their eBay sales or their Amazon sales or any other platform they sell on. It's just brought them new customers. And I think that's the most exciting thing about TikTok, that it is introducing your brand to customers that possibly would never, ever have heard of you or purchased from you before. And it's not just moving sales from one channel to another. It is literally finding you brand new customers and finding revenue that you could have only ever got through TikTok Shop. You've not managed to get it through your website. You've not managed to get it through Amazon. It's actually built additional revenue and very significant revenue streams. And the other interesting thing is it actually, rather than being dilutive and taking away from your other channels, it actually supports your other channels. So Sweet have told me that they've had people going into their 14 physical shops since they started selling on TikTok saying, oh my gosh, I've seen you on TikTok and now I'm actually in your shop. So it's actually supporting their offline, because holidaymakers walk past their shops and can't resist going in because they've seen them on TikTok.
It's so funny. Ingrid is always like so surprised about the social media because she's like not doing anything. and I'm so interested in as well, Chris, if you say like there is like an added revenue stream, right? How do you start in getting and starting in TikTok Shop? Because I'm as you said, it's an entertaining platform, right? So it's not like, oh great, tomorrow we have like nothing done ever on TikTok, and tomorrow we start our TikTok Shop. That doesn't make really sense, right? So
no, and I've got to be honest. If you go onto TikTok and open up TikTok Shop and stock your TikTok Shop with products, you're probably not going to sell very much.
Yeah.
So let me give you a couple of examples. Now, the first is So Sweet that, and apologies for coming back to them, but they're just brilliant. They started out on TikTok Shop and started doing videos talking about the sweets that they sell. And one day, they had a strange email come in. Someone said, I've just made a purchase on TikTok from you. Could you please video packing my order because I want to post it on my own TikTok account? And they thought, well, this is a bit weird, but hey, whatever. We'll get a box. Here's your sweets. Chuck them in the box, put the label on, send it off, emailed him the video. The next day they came in and they had 40 emails from people saying, can you please video packing my order?
What?
I know. I've seen unboxing videos, but I've never seen boxing videos before.
No, I also know unboxing videos, and that for sweets. I mean, and like giving your sweets to the kids, okay, but boxing videos, why?
So essentially, it just exploded so fast that they literally had to start separating orders out. Here's a pile of normal e-commerce orders, and here's a pile of orders that we've got a video backing them.
Like
And-
2 line holes.
And of course, everyone that got one of those videos posted it to their own TikTok accounts, which just meant millions more people saw it over a very short period of time. And everyone wanted a video of their order being packed. And that's an example of how sort of going viral on TikTok can really make a difference. But another company I want to speak about is a company called Lux Collective, who sell luxury, pre-loved fashion. So Ben Gallagher, all the way through the COVID lockdowns, just started posting videos about fashion on TikTok. So he would do things like videos on different ways to lace up your shoes or your trainers. He would do videos on, here's an article in Vogue. What do we think of it? What do we think of this fashion that the celebrities wearing? Have they paired the right handbag with their outfit? Would a different handbag have been better? And literally, how to spot a fake, how to spot a genuine. He just went on TikTok and just posted non-stop about fashion. Wasn't trying to sell anything. Didn't try and sell anything. Just literally, he was building a following, and it was lockdown, so he had nothing better to do. Now, the net result of this is the pre-loved fashion section has only just launched on TikTok in April this year. So the first weekend, he did what's called a TikTok live, which is essentially, instead of doing a video, you actually go live on TikTok. You can respond to comments and demonstrate products. Over the launch weekend, he generated 189,000 views and 58 orders. Now, 58 orders might not sound very much, but this is luxury fashion. So when you're selling handbags, which might be retailing for £3,000-4,000, actually 58 orders is quite a lot of luxury handbags to sell in one weekend. But he'd built an audience by immersing himself in the fashion world and just posting very, very regularly about fashion almost every day for months, if not years, and built up a following. So naturally, when he then started going live and selling on TikTok Shop, he already had a pre-built audience.
So I
And that's
guess
the important thing about TikTok. You've got to be entertaining. There's no point just posting a video saying, here's a product, you want to buy it.
Yeah.
You need to build that entertainment value that will make people want to follow you, and then they'll buy from you.
So I guess a good advice for German companies who consider TikTok Shop would be to start out now with their TikTok account and
If
go
you've not
into
already started now, then
content
start
creating.
today.
Yeah. Okay. And just build your following up and then put your shop onto that existing content following. So that's the idea behind it. Okay.
Now, the other thing that's recently happened in the UK is the launch of Fulfilled by TikTok, or FBT.
Yeah.
Now, this is really exciting because TikTok is unlike any other marketplace. If we were talking in Amazon terms, you might do Fulfilled by Merchant or Fulfilled by Amazon, and both would work equally well. Fulfilled by Amazon might be easier to get the Prime badge, and you get faster delivery from Amazon perhaps than you can do yourself. But there's you'll have a flow of orders, and you'll be, apart from things like you get a boost on Black Friday or Amazon Prime Day, you know when those peaks are coming. The difference with TikTok is when something goes viral. And when something goes viral, you can go from a couple of hundred orders a day to thousands or even tens of thousands of orders in a day because your product has gone viral. And that's the real value of Fulfilled by TikTok, that their warehouse can take the strain of when a product goes viral, and when you go from selling 100 a day to selling 5,000 orders in a day, Fulfilled by TikTok will just deal with that for you. And this becomes really, really powerful. And this is actually a problem that Nature Spell had. So Nature Spell, a hair care brand, they're actually not a traditional online retailer. They are a manufacturer. And yes, they sold direct to consumer on sites like Amazon. But when they started selling on TikTok, they started off with a couple of sales a day, but soon they were doing 2,000 orders a day, then 5,000, then 7,000, then 8,000, and they hit 9,000 orders a day very, very quickly. Now, as a London-based manufacturer, they were used to making hair care products, putting them in glass bottles, putting them all on a pallet and shipping them out somewhere. They weren't set up for direct-to-consumer business where each product had to be individually wrapped in its own carton and have a label applied and shipped. And they ended up working 3 shifts a day instead of 1, working round the clock. But even then, because of the volume of packaging materials they needed, they didn't have room. They were storing product in the car park because now they had all of the bubble wrap of the boxes to cope with on top of the product. Now, Fulfilled by TikTok, FBT solved all of their logistics challenges and let them get back to being what they do best, which is being a fantastic hair care product manufacturer. So now they again have gone back to manufacturing products and putting onto a pallet and shipping pallets to TikTok, and then TikTok will do the virtual stock bundling. Put various hair products together and put them in a single carton and ship to the end user, but that's no longer their problem. And these guys, as I said, they hit 9,000 orders a day from a standing start in a very short space of time, and in less than a year had done their 1 millionth sale on TikTok.
That's wow.
Valerie.
How can I, if I'm a brand manufacturer or whatever, if I want to sell on TikTok Shop, how does it work in sense of how much do I pay commission to TikTok Shop? How can I integrate? Can you give us more insights on that one?
Yeah. So at the moment, it is very, very attractive to sell on TikTok. Now, if you've been involved with eBay, for example, over the years, you will have known that eBay's fees have gradually gone up over time. So once upon a time, you used to have a product on a format on eBay called shop inventory format, and the fees were about 2.5%. Nowadays, the fees are more like 10-12%. And similarly on Amazon, you're probably paying somewhere in the region of 12 to 15% retail selling fees.
Yeah.
On TikTok, they're a new platform and they want to attract you. So the fees are very low, single-digit fees, around about the sort of 4%.
Wow.
And also, they're Fulfilled by TikTok fees have been coming out with some very, very attractive promotions to make the fees for Fulfilled by TikTok very, very low at the moment. I don't expect them to stay that low.
Yeah.
They are low because they need sellers and want to attract sellers, and they're doing a great job of it. So to give you an idea, from July to December 2023 worldwide, TikTok onboarded 6 million new sellers.
They're up to 15 million now, I think.
They also, incidentally, blocked 2 million sellers from going on their platform because they didn't think they were good enough. They didn't pass the verification process. So they're doing the trust and safety bit as well. So they're growing very, very fast. But as their fees are so low at the moment, now is the best time to get on TikTok. Because if you're successful, you're going to shift a hell of a lot of product at very low fees compared to any other channel. And you can build and establish your reputation. If you wait 2 or 3 years and maybe their fees are getting up towards 10% because they're now established, and once everyone's on TikTok, their fees will undoubtedly go up. It's obviously a lot harder to experiment and grow when you're paying 10% fees than when you're paying 2% fees.
Yeah, definitely.
So my advice is to get on quick, benefit from the low fees, build your reputation and experiment. And then when the fees do sort of normalise to the kind of levels we see on other channels and marketplaces, you'll be ahead of the game and in a very good position, established with the sales coming to you rather than to your competitors.
Mm-hmm. Talking about getting on TikTok, because Valerie asked about integration as well. So how do I connect to TikTok at the moment? Is there already some kind of flywheel established around TikTok? Are there service providers? Are there marketplace integrators that are connecting to TikTok Shop?
TikTok is relatively new, but you will start seeing service providers. In the UK, it'll be the likes of Channelvisor, Volo, and Linkworks. And I know in Europe, it's probably very different service providers that retailers use. But yeah, they're all building connectors to TikTok Shop. They all recognise that it's very, very important growing channel. And they just basically, they can't afford to ignore it, because if one service provider connects to TikTok Shop and none of the others do, all of the retailers are going to be considering switching to the one service provider that does support TikTok. So service provider is not a problem. Opening an account on TikTok, it's very, very simple. It's a bit like eBay. You open a personal account and then you can upgrade it to a business account if you want to. And of course, you're going to want to upgrade to a business account so you can open TikTok Shop when it's available. So I would say step number one today, if you're in Europe, is open a business TikTok account if you haven't done already. Or if one of the leaders in your business is already big on TikTok, whether it be the CEO or the marketing manager, if they've already got a big following on TikTok, convert their account to the business account, so long as it's in roughly the same category that you operate in. And get your business account set up, ready for when TikTok Shop opens, and then you can be straight in. But the most important thing is you can start building your following today, even before TikTok Shop opens in your country.
In many brands, marketplaces and platforms are driven from the same marketplace team. Selling on Amazon, selling on eBay, selling on Kaufland, wherever. What the marketplace of choice is, it's normally done by the same team. But as you said several times now, is that TikTok Shop is a very different game and a very different platform to sell on. So do you need different people for that as well?
You can probably use the same team to manage your TikTok Shop and manage your pick, pack and fulfillment. What you will need is a very different marketing team. So marketing on marketplaces at the moment is very much getting the crayons out and making your listings pretty and attractive. And then on the once you've got your offers, either your listings on eBay or your A+ content on Amazon looking fantastic, then it's a case of, okay, how do we promote our products? And that is generally through eBay promoted listings, either standard or advanced, or it's Amazon sponsored products or sponsored brands. And you're looking at putting money behind these to actually then further promote them. And it's just a marketing function. TikTok is different because you need someone in front of the camera. You have to have a face to the business, probably multiple faces. And these have to be people comfortable both recording short videos to post on your TikTok account and going live and start selling on TikTok. And people are using 3 types of vehicle to do this. Number one is your in-house creator, someone within the business, like Ben Gallagher at Lux Collective, who is happy in front of the camera to go and build an audience on TikTok. Number 2 are affiliates. And affiliates on TikTok are people who have built their own following on their personal accounts and would be happy to promote your product. And their cost will be an affiliate commission and possibly the cost of sending them a product sample. And as an example, ePhones that I mentioned earlier, they work with over 9,000 affiliates who create content around their product. That's
I would say
9,000.
Chris, I would also say that affiliates are also like influencer, right?
Yes, they are creators in their own right.
Yeah.
And there are, you'll make your product available to affiliates, and some affiliates may just think this is a great product, I'm going to do a video about it without you even knowing.
Yeah.
But what works best is when you actually work with your affiliates and you pick the correct creators to work to and probably send them a product sample, which they then demonstrate to their audience. And it works really well because ePhones are a tech business. So you would think it would make sense that all of their creators would be tech creators. But no, sometimes it's the mum that's had a new baby that they send a phone to, and her following is other mums with new babies. So she's talking about parenting and how to look after children. And then she's saying, and look, this is this brand new phone that I've got. Look what great videos it takes of my baby. Look what great photos it takes of my baby. And then the other new mums say, oh, we'd like one of those phones. And guess what? They can click the affiliate link and go and buy one. So it gets you a much greater audience outside of your normal vertical, reaching consumers that you would not interested in tech and probably would have never looked at tech products before, but because another mum has been talking about them, suddenly they are interested.
Yeah, so classical influencer marketing ideas. Yeah.
And then there's the third type of creator, who are creators with large followings. And one of my favorites, if you want to look them up, are the Sugar Coated Sisters, who are a musical comedian pair of sisters. And they do amazing videos all of the time on TikTok. They've always got something funny coming out. But every now and again, they'll do a video for large brands. And they've done work for Kayak, for Airwaves, for Marks and Spencer's, for Google, for Meta, for Microsoft. Large businesses actually pay them to do a one-off video creative. And this involves handing across a quite significant, probably a 5-figure chunk of money, if a creator's got a big enough following, for them to do a custom video about your business. And this is just a one-off video, but it will have massive reach because these people might have 100,000, 200,000, 500,000, 1 million followers. So you're paying for a very specific piece of brand marketing. And an example of that is the Sugar Coated Sisters did one for Marks and Spencer's when I think it was the Women's World Cup was on, and Marks and Spencer's were the suppliers of the fashion for the Women's World Cup. So the suits you see them wearing when they get off the team coach, they were Marks and Spencer's. So the Sugar Coated Sisters were promoting the fashion range they brought out for the women's England football team. So that's a very high end. The type of promotion in the past, you may have seen an advert in the middle of your evening soap on TV. Your normal affiliates are the kind of the middle range. They're getting a much higher reach than you could possibly get. So maybe you could equate that to kind of putting an advert in the paper that goes cross country. And then you've got your own in-house team, which is effectively when you might in the past have gone to a trade show to try and promote your products. So there's those three different levels of creators. Your in-house creator, your affiliates, and your independent creators.
Yeah. And I would say for in-house, you really need a special team, which is like, which can be creative, which doesn't has to, get everything verified by the PR own in-house teams.
Yeah.
So really, that they are
by PR. This, Valerie, is a really important point. You can't be too precious about TikTok. You've got to give someone creative freedom.
Yes.
You've got to allow them to break the normal company rules and be playful and do things which may seem shocking to the brand, but it has to be entertaining.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite sets of videos, and this is going back like a decade and a half on eBay, was a series of YouTube videos, Will It Blend? And they would take products like a brand new iPhone, put it in a blender, and see if the blender could chop it up. Now, they were selling blenders, but everyone was looking at the Will It Blend videos on YouTube. And that's the type of content that you've got to be doing on TikTok. It's got to be entertaining content that people want to watch. So if you are selling blenders, try blending the latest iPhone, although, to be honest, you'd be copying their campaign, so it's a bit second-hand. But, of course, if you're a blender manufacturer and someone says, I want to put, like, expensive products in the blender and see if it'll chop them up, your PR team is probably going to go crazy over that and say no. But give them the freedom to do it, because that type of entertaining content works.
It needs to be disruptive. I think that's it.
Well, it did work then. It may not work quite so much in a cost of living crisis and a world that is much more concerned about sustainability, to take a brand new iPhone and chop it in a blender. That may not work as well today, as we've seen with Apple on their latest advert, where they crushed a load of high-end electronics and got a very negative reaction to it.
Right, Chris. Unfortunately, I have to close here because our time has been running out. But thank you so much for talking about TikTok Shop and your insights that you've gathered in the last 2-3 years in the UK. Really interesting, and I'm really interested to see how that works out in Germany. I think everyone here is already looking forward to the start of TikTok Shop, and already we're preparing for it from what I hear from our partners as well. Many of them are working on integrations for TikTok Shop and stuff. So yeah, gonna be an interesting time. So Anyway, thank you very much for all your insights.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. And my parting advice is, please get onto TikTok and start building a following today, because the sooner you start, the better it will pay back in the future.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you so much, Chris. I would also add that I think some of our sponsors and they are also working on a TikTok integration already. So we will keep you posted about that one. And yeah, I would also like to know who has already a TikTok account. I would say, like, first, as we learned, right? First, you create a TikTok account, create a followership, and then start with a TikTok shop. So I would say now it's the best time to start. Let's discuss this on LinkedIn. And I would say we will happy to hear you and see you again, I think, in the next weeks as well, especially in our events trips. And please click the follow button on rate us on Spotify, LinkedIn, on the podcasts. And next week we are talking about what?
You're talking about, because I'm not here. I'm offshore. I'm hosting the Shopware Community Day, and then I'm on holiday. So I hope you're going to remember how Riverside works, because you'll be managing on your own.
So funny, because it's because I've never done it before, because Ingrid is always doing it.
Yeah, but I told you so, and there's a video somewhere.
Once.
I have full confidence you're going to make that. That's
Me too.
Fine. But I think you've got some great guests as well.
Yeah, that's true. Next week I talk with Eva Maria Heidemann about the best jewelry and watches marketplaces in German. So And the week afterwards, I'm doing it alone again. And I'm talking with Dex van Hofing from Channel Engine, our partner and sponsor, about internationalization in marketplace business. So be sure to tune in, hear you and hear me next week. And bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You listen to Let's Talk Marketplace,
the Marketplace podcast with Ingrid Lommer and Valerie Dichtel.